Hey, in this video, we're going to weave this piece. Actually, we're going to weave it like this. This is the bottom. We're going to weave a few plain rows of this thinner rug yarn in these two colors for stripes. Then we're going to change to this thicker yarn with the twill pattern bar. And we're going to do some changing directions on that bar to make those zigzags. Then we're going to go back to the plain weave and the thinner yarn for the stripes. We're going to tie it off with a row of half hitch knots at the top and then cut it off the loom. You can use the yarn that came with your kit. That includes a thick and a thin, or you can use any combination of thick and thin. I'm using thick in the middle to kind of play up that twill pattern. And I'm using two different colors of the thinner because I wanted to do stripes. But definitely just take a look at what you have and choose your own adventure there with the different colors. The basic skills for this piece are in the getting started videos. If you want a quick overview, the short version of the getting started videos is a good one. That covers all the skills we're going to use in here except for the half hitch. And the half hitch technique is found in the finishing video. So in this video, I'll show you how to put them all together to make this piece. Go ahead and get your loom warped and with your plain pattern bar in position. My first stripe is going to be black. No, I changed my mind. My first stripe is going to be green. All right, I'm starting with green. I've got my needle knotted. I've got, sort of arm's length, a little longer. Maybe I won't use all of it. If you've watched the other videos, you know your skills, how to switch the shed, how to pass the needle through at the top, how to push it down with the comb, how to make your little hill. All right, I've got 4 rows. I'm going to cut the end, leaving 6 inches or so. Now I'm getting my needle ready with the black yarn. I cut a shorter length of black because I only want to do a couple of rows. So I switch my shed. All right, what do we think? Does that look thick enough? Yeah. No, I changed my mind again. I want to do one more. All right, so I did 4 rows of green, 3 rows of black. Now I'm ready for my next section, which is going to be twill. So let's change our heddle bar. I'm going to slide it out. Name goes on the left. Sometimes after you've started weaving, it's a little hard to line up. That worked pretty well. We'll start it on 1. All right, let's load up our needle with a fair amount of this, but we're probably going to have to refill, so it doesn't have to be gigantic. So just a note about your color choices and the proportions, the lengths of different parts of the weavings and stuff. That is something that everybody has an eye for, and the more you do it, the more you'll kind of get a feel for what you like. So my role, as I see it, is to kind of give you the ingredients and sort of demo some possible combinations, and you'll start to get a feel for what you like. So here we are with twill. Twill, remember, has the floating selvage, so we're going under on the way in, over on the way out, and I'm just going to get cranking. All right, I've done 6 rows, and that was all going forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So to create the zigzag, we're going to reverse, right? So we still do the same thing, under on the way in, over on the way out. We can just say that in our heads all day long, but we're going to go backwards to 1. And I'm going to do another 6 rows of that. All right, I'm actually going to say that that's good because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that 1 in the middle. So I've reached the end of my thread. I'm going to unknot it and leave it and get a new one. All right, and I've already switched my shed. I've decided to start going forward again. And what I'm going to do, even though we started on the opposite side down here with plain weave, when I'm doing twill, I'm going to keep it all on the, like when I end on one side, I'm going to pick it up on that side. And the reason for doing that is because you're doing the under on the way in, over on the way out, and that way that system keeps working for you. But if you don't do that and you were to start over here, it's really okay. You're not going to have a big problem. My mantra is nothing is really a disaster in weaving. It's really good to have a handle on the technical stuff, but you can also push yarn around a little bit. At least that's how I like to look at it. All right, I'm going to continue. Okay, time to reverse again. And if you've gotten to the end of your rope, let's add some new rope. I was actually able to get one more row with that before I started a new one, so now I'm starting a new one. So I've switched directions. I have 5 different switches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've done about 5 rows in each one, in each direction. And now I have to make a decision. Do I think that I can do one more section before I do another sort of little wrap-up section of plain weave to give it a border? I think so. I think I'm going to pat it down just a little. All right, so I kind of futzed with it and I pushed it with my fingers, got it a little lower on the warp. So I think that's looking really nice. I'm going to do one more section and then we'll do some more plain weave. Okay, now I have several different sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think we're going to go ahead and do some more plain weave. So first things first, let's get our plain weave heddle bar in there. Okay, so I wanted you to see how I did that. And basically I started at one end and I kind of grabbed it so that all the warp threads went in the right slots. And then I kind of pulled it with my right hand, still holding it up with my left, and kind of pulled it until they were all kind of there and then pushed it up. The other thing you can do is not do that, push it up where some of them are wrong, and then take a crochet hook or your fingers and kind of move them around manually. Okay, so I had a little green left over, so I'm just using a short one. I think I'm going to do 2 rows of this green. All right, now I've got black. I'm going to start at this side again. Let's do 3 black. Okay, so I didn't quite have enough after those 2 2 green rows. So I needed to rethread my needle. So I like that. I think that looks cool. But I also want to encourage you to think about your ingredients and think about how you want to use them. Maybe you want to have green and black down here. Maybe you want to have another color up here. Maybe you want to have lots of little stripes. Okay, now I have a nice long piece of yarn here at the end of my final row of green. So I'm going to use it to do the half hitch tying off, which I have demoed in the finishing video. So you can check that out, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So when I get to the end, I'm just going to kind of do the knot where I pull it, and then I just kind of pull it to the back. I pull it a little further there. I'm going to go ahead and tuck these loose ends in before I take it off. And I think this too is available in the video on finishing, but I'll just give you a sense of it here. The gist is that you weave the needle through a few of these warp threads, and then you thread it with your length, your loose end there, and then you pull it through, and you end with it in the back. So that's a good finishing method. I'm going to finish this up, and then I'm going to cut it off the loom and show you. Here's all my knots and woven places where I wove in the yarns, and I'm just going to snip them off. And they'll be fine. And I have to do that with these guys too. So there's the piece with all the ends woven in and trimmed. This is the back. I've kind of fluffed up this so it gets all the way down to the end. I think that doesn't look too bad.